So your fantasy basketball draft is right around the corner. You need a list of players that you can target so you can win your fantasy basketball championship. What if I told you I had one of the brightest minds in the fantasy sports industry here today to help you do just that? In this episode, we're going to be talking to Dan Titus from Yahoo, and he's going to share his personal list of targets for fantasy basketball drafts. So I got my man Dan Titus back. We are about to talk about category leagues, specifically players that you need to target throughout the draft. Dan, do you got some players locked in for us?
Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of conversation about what to do after the first 5 picks go in category leagues, you know. And I think for me, my rankings, I have it Cade Cunningham, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Trae Young, Steph Curry, and James Harden rounding out my top 12. Ideally, I would like to come away with Cade Cunningham. Why? Because the Eastern Conference is about as soft as it's going to be for a long time. Not having Jason Tatum yet, operative word yet. Who knows? That guy's recovery has been insane. But I think the Detroit Pistons could be a top 3 seed in this Eastern Conference this year. They're that good. And the engine behind all that is Cade Cunningham. What he can do from points, assists, threes, free throw percentage, even blocks. Like, this man is just a multi-category beast. And I'd prioritize him over Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, and Trae Young because, you know, Anthony Davis, obviously, he's got the injury risk. Anthony Edwards, to me, doesn't have the as much of a diverse skill set in terms of filling out other categories. And then Devin Booker is another person that I think is kind of interesting, but I put Cade Cunningham over all of those guys. I think Devin Booker is the next person that I would try to target that I think people are sleeping on because his assist potential, despite not having Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal alongside of him, he's shown that he can be not only the top scorer on that team, but also have a sneaky assist. And with Jalen Green there, who's going to be chucking, I think there's just a lot of fantasy potential there because there isn't a lot of ball dominant guys or high usage guys that will be able to take away from him. So I think if you're looking at it, you know, you may not look at Devin Booker, you know, in his past year stats to be like, oh, this is a first round guy. Completely different situation. This is his team now. I think he's going to step into that role. And then in the last picks, I think you could still go with the old guys, you know, the James Hardens, the Steph Currys, Donovan Mitchell, I think gets into some consideration there, mainly because you're not really going to find the usage, and I would say that the dependability that those guys have. And Steph Curry, I think with the squad that they've accumulated now that they got Al Horford, now that they have Jimmy Butler there, I think that raises the floor for the Warriors. I think there was some concern about Steph when there's this 2 eras or the two timelines were kind of still running prevalent in that organization, whereas now it's like, no, we're trying to win now. So I think Steph is going to be more reliable this year. James Harden, I mean, look at the Clippers roster, man. Like, they went out and got they got some hitters with them. So I think that just raises their floor for him. But he's also been a beast always in the regular season. Playoffs, different story, but we're only playing fantasy basketball for the regular season anyway. One guy that I think is rising that I think makes sense is Amen Thompson. I think that makes sense with Fred VanVleet gone. I know some people might have some heartburn of spending a really early second-round pick on Amen Thompson, but this guy's going to be spectacular, y'all. So two-way player, can fill up the stat sheet every way possible.
Yeah, I see him rising, right? So he was already rising before Freddie's injury, right?
Yeah.
He was already like in that 3rd round area. And then when Freddie, you know, it's unfortunate news that he'll be out likely most of the season or the whole season, that it's almost like I felt like Amen was just going up too fast. And I was like, whoa. Like, I saw him go in the 1st round in the mock draft. I was like, wait, what's that? I didn't know if I was like in some bizarro dimension. I was like, what is happening? Is this like OTE, like NBA OTE, what's happening? But I get it. It makes sense, especially when you think about a category league, the type of player, his archetype is that like multi-category contributor, right? Like, he could pour in, you know, points in a bunch of different categories. So I get that, but I think it's still pricey for me. In points leagues too, he's rising in points leagues. I see him going top of the second. And I'm like, wait, what? This, like, I got to change my rankings. Like, what's happening? So I love that you mentioned him because hearing it from you kind of sets me at ease a little bit. Sometimes when you see your friend buy something that you're interested in purchasing, and you're like, I don't know about that shirt. Nah, Rob, go cop it. All right.
I will happily peer pressure you into drafting Amen Thompson, but I would also say to that, I think Tyrese Maxey, I'm higher on him than consensus because I just don't trust Paul George and Joel Embiid to play, more than 60 games. And he just looks like he's so comfortable right now running that offense, and it's his team now. And I think everyone in that locker room knows it. One player that I think is probably falling to the mid-second, maybe even late second, maybe even the third, depending on the size of your league, is Jalen Johnson. I know he gets hurt a lot, but the way that the Hawks are utilizing him as like a point forward is not only going to lighten the burden on Trae Young, but I think the assist potential that he has, this guy's a stat stuffer on both sides of the ball. So I think he's a guy that I think will rise. I think it's okay for you to take him above the Domantas Sabonis's, the Alperen Şengün's. I mean, I'm not down on Karl Anthony Towns, but I'm saying, like, I feel like he may not have the success that he had last year of like the first round value. I would be pretty aggressive about Jalen Johnson this year as well.
That's a good one because I don't think that people are as aggressive. They're kind of following consensus on it. And I think putting him above Alperen Şengün and players like Cat, who, are more top of the second round, if not like late first. I've even seen Karl Anthony Towns for category leagues. I think that's a good take. Good stuff. Really quick. I want to go back a little bit because something just hit me. And this is a rewind. I guess I'm having a flashback because years ago, you invited me to be a guest writer on one of your articles. We did like your My Guy episode, I believe, or My Guy article. And I did Cade Cunningham, I've been high on Cade Cunningham since, but like more to Cade, right? So I wanted to go back to Cade quickly. Is there a player in that top 5 that you would slide out for Cade? Because I've seen Cade in an expert category league mock that one of the guys threw. Like he went like 3rd. I was like, what's happening? Do you think that there's a player that you have question marks around in that first 5 that maybe if you had to, you would maybe put Cade there?
I think Giannis. Just because like you may have to be punting free throws and 3-pointers, whereas you don't have that concern with Cade Cunningham. Now the flip side of that is Giannis is going to be one of only probably 2 or 3 players that can average 30, 10, and 5, and so that's a risk you take. However, I think it's worth it if you're looking at a breadth of. If we're talking category leagues, I think it's totally fair. Points leagues, I don't know that I can take Giannis out of the top 5.
Okay, cool. All right, you can get back to your list.
So mid-round guys, man. I think Brandon Miller is in for a big year. Right now, I think that the Charlotte Hornets, I think, are going to be better than people expect. Now, of course, this hinges on LaMelo Ball's health, but his season was cut short last year, but he's averaged over a fantasy point per minute last year, which is a good indication that, he's effective in the minutes that he gets. But then also, I think that there's going to be another leap with this team better around him, better depth, another year of coaching under Charles Lee. This is going to be a better team. And similarly, I would say that Miles Bridges is also being discounted a bit much. People may not like him just for obvious reasons, and that's fair. But if we're talking about just playing a fantasy game, he's a very good fantasy player. And I think the Charlotte Hornets, those are 2 guys, if you miss out on LaMelo Ball, those are 2 guys that I would target that I think are going to exceed their ADPs. Going down the list a little bit further, I'm in on Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he's going way too late. Mainly because I don't know, man. Chet, I'm not sold on. I've actually passed on Chet quite a bit. I know that there's this ridiculous ceiling for how good he is and the skill set that he provides, not only as an offensive threat, that can shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor, can score in the post, can pretty much do everything except stay healthy. And so, like, this is just a hedge, and I think it's a very affordable hedge because I've seen Hartenstein go, round 8, round 9. Real deep there just because he doesn't score a lot. But if you look at his assists relative to the position, if you look at his stocks, he can get you a steal and a block a game. Hartenstein is a very cheap asset for me in category leagues that I would be more than happy to get as my second backup center.
Love it. Love it. You got anybody else for me, Dan? Any deeper sleepers here that you're looking at?
We going real deep. So I was really high on Isaiah Collier of the Utah Jazz, but he hasn't sniffed the floor in the preseason yet because of a knee injury, I believe it is. It's either knee or ankle. Actually, it might be hamstring. Sorry. But that's given the opportunity for Keontae George to take over more ball handling. And he dropped a triple-double in one of his preseason games. Still not shooting the ball super well, but like I think you kind of know that with Keontae George. But I think it's more about how he's utilizing this opportunity. And if Isaiah Collier isn't ready for the start of the season, I think Keontae George is a person that's going well outside the top 120 that could easily be a guy that could beat his ADP just given off the sheer volume of what he's doing. Now, of course, it's going to be contingent on your build, but in points leagues, I'm all over Keontae George. Another guy that I like in head-to-head, points leagues, we'll stick with points leagues, is Jaden Ivey. I think he's going too late considering he averaged 17, 4 and 4 before he broke his leg last year. I think there's a huge upside swing for him, especially in a contract year where he's looking to get that rookie extension from the Detroit Pistons. He's financially incentivized to ball out, and I think he's going to step in, become that second option for Detroit, a team that's going to be, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Very nice. Very nice. I appreciate you, Dan. You always bring tons of value, and I think that these picks will help people win some fantasy basketball championships.
Yes, sir.
Anything you're working on right now that you want to share with folks?
Yes. Find all my work at yahoofantasy.com/basketball. You can find it in the Yahoo Fantasy app. Check out my blueprint cheat sheet, which goes through all of my strategies and tips to navigating points leagues, high score, category leagues, got breakouts, avoids, in-season strategies that you want to consider. So check that out if you're looking for a quick 101 on how to go into your draft and crush it.
Thanks, Dan.